Burn live, burn live, burn live, burn live, burn live, burn live. It's going down, baby. Burning through ashes, trying to make comments.
Burn live, y'all. Burn live, y'all. Burn live. Burning through ashes. No, burning through conversations, trying to make common sense. That's what we do here on this show. We talk about live topics, man. I'm trying to get this show off the ground, especially my YouTube page. I've been hit with a lot of things. So I think the best thing for me to do is really start getting back hard on talking about tough and hard subjects that need to be spread out there. Also, things that are not looked at or being discussed and discovered. I will be discussing them on this channel. I will be going in deeper. I got a very good insider who's going to help marketing my podcast in a little better way. But today it's about rich and poor, or rich versus poor, however you want to look at it. My special guest is Johnny. After his heart, he's here, and we're going to go over this video. We're going to discuss about rich and poor, because that is the biggest thing and topics in like social media. That we be taxing the rich? Do the rich make too rich? Is the poor getting enough? How do we look at society versus riches versus poor? And that's really what I want to discuss today, because I'm hearing it everywhere. I found this good video that I think would be a very good topic. And I first want to start off with Johnny giving his explanation on richer and poor.
Yes, the difference between rich and poor in my eyes is just a social class. That's all.
Just a social class?
Yeah.
Okay.
But and within that social class, there can be many different dynamics. And what I mean by dynamics, I mean by aspects of living in life that people experience different while living in those social classes.
Right. I see that. I get that. What I be saying the difference is how people put poor versus rich. Where does it divide at? A lot of people in this discussion, they do forget the middle class versus the poor class and all this stuff. It's always just the riches versus poor. So in this part one, or part whatever number we on, I'm gonna start keeping notes about that too, on stuff and certain subjects that I talk about, and that I do more than one conversation over. So without a further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I have this video. And Jubilee, shout out to Jubilee. I'm gonna put them in the description. I don't know why I didn't do it before I did it. Shout out to them. This is their video, but the discussion is here. And I want to start off with this first discussion. Let's get into it.
We're clapping for the rich guy?
Rich people should be taxed more.
Yeah.
Before we get all that, I want to leave it at that prop right there. Should the rich be taxed more? John, do you have anything to say before we get into the video about that? Should
Should the rich be taxed more?
Yes.
Not at the expense of a hate towards being rich, but more so at the expense of a greater good for the country.
Okay. Federally, I'm just gonna go federal real quick. If federally poor only pays 6%, why don't the poor pay more?
Well, because they don't have more.
They don't have more, but then they have more resources than rich.
Not necessarily. It'll probably level out the playing field. Logically, it levels out the playing field. Logically, if you had one bin that had more and another bin that had less, if you want to even those bins out, you would take from out of the bin that has more and put it inside of the bin that has less so it can even out. That's the logic behind taxing the rich more than the poor. Nothing but there's not a hatred towards riches or nothing like that. Nor is it like going to hinder the growth or process of someone else's of their luxury. It's not at that expense. It's at the expense of helping out others. So why wouldn't someone want to do that? I don't know.
I remember back when, America was first starting and the taxes were looked at as a privilege. Like it was something that people looked forward to. People, use it as a badge of honor that they had made it to a point where they could use their success to benefit the rest of society. It was something that they used as like a stamp of.
Have you ever heard of that time?
Say it again.
Have you ever heard of that time?
I wasn't listening. My apologies.
Ooh, and everybody heard you say it too. I gotta get my better keyboard. I picked the wrong one.
For back when, America was first starting and the taxes were looked at as a privilege. Like it was something that people looked forward to. People, use it as a badge of honor that they had made it to a point where they could use their success to benefit the rest of society. It was something that they used as like a stamp of, I've made it, I've done my part, I've become so successful that now I can give back at such an extraordinary level. Now, this is also dependent.
Do you believe that statement?
I'm trying to get my stuff back on. My power kind of went off a little bit. I'm trying to get that working right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause this real quick
On taxes being.
because I'm trying to get your power right. Also,
Yeah, my apologies. I'm my bad. I don't mess some stuff up in this thing. I done hit the wrong switches.
heck no. But you can hear, right?
Yes.
Okay. Listen to this. Hold on. I don't even think y'all could. Yeah, I understand. They try to hear this.
About this socialism thing. Check it out.
Scary story. An economic.
Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear. Just give me a second. I'm trying to fix this.
Fix it, but I need you to just listen, and I'll play it again if I have to.
Professor at a local college made a statement that she had never failed a single student before, but had recently failed an entire class. The class had insisted that socialism worked, that no one would be poor and no one would be rich, a great equalizer. The professor then said, okay, we will have an experiment in this class. All grades will be averaged and everyone will receive the same grade. No one will fail, but no one will receive an A either. After the first test, the grades were averaged and everyone got a B. The students who studied hard were upset, and the students who studied little were happy. As the second test rolled round, the students who studied little studied even less, and the ones who studied hard decided they wanted a free ride too, so they studied little. The second average test result was a D. No one was happy. When the third test rolled round, the average was an F. As the test proceeded, the scores never improved, as bickering, name-calling and blame all resulted in hard feelings, and no one would study for the benefit of anyone else. To their great surprise, all failed, and the professor told them that socialism would ultimately fail, because when the reward is great, the effort to succeed is great. But when the government takes away all the reward, no one will try or want to succeed. And that is socialism, my friends.
Now, my question would be, wanting to succeed at what? What's the
Why?
problem? Hold on, wait. Let me finish.
Yes, sir.
What's the problem with somebody who doesn't want to, quote unquote, want to pursue riches or want to pursue um a quote unquote better living, right? Why should my living circumstances be hey, why should my living circumstances be based on the effort that I put in inside of the world? Why isn't that a God-given right? I believe if we were to produce from a place not of necessity, right, but out of a place of comfort and love, I think the world would be a better place. I think there would be a lot of better ideas being put out there, not a lot of negativity either. That's just my thought.
I noticed one thing, right? And you be right on everything you say, so don't get it twisted. But one thing I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, your thought pattern be excluding evil.
It excludes me.
No, it excludes evil.
Yeah.
That's what makes your logic so hard to be realistic. You have good ideas, don't get it wrong. I agree with you, don't get it wrong. But when you exclude evil, like evil is not going to play no type of part in the development of people and society and what goes on, that what makes things hard to be realistic. Just like, for an example, when my girl said, hey, racism is never going to end because, yet again, it's always going to be something that's been happening for years on years on years on. Technically, she has a point. You know what I'm saying? Until, unfortunately, like a World War III. Now, to go back more, what you're saying is, to have a word that what you want to live in, it's going to be hard because, yet again, there's going to be somebody who's not going to so-called pull their weight. And what I've been hearing that, you know what I'm saying, most common people don't use at an everyday basis is give back to society. Society took the time to give you every tool in life that you need. You have the same 24 hours. Everybody has the same fundamental educated system as everybody. Now that's equal across the board. Now it really depends on the individual teacher. True indeed, 100%. You know what I'm saying? That's getting individual personal, but spread worldwide. Everybody has the same equal opportunity. It's your choices of life. So yet again, if you don't put into society, is society ever going to grow? Because yet again, you expect society to give back. It's just like getting fruit from a tree, but don't help the tree grow.
Now, what do you mean by evil? You said when I think of the ideas, I said it's that you said it doesn't include evil. So what do you mean by evil?
The presence of evilness, wrong, bad intentions.
The reason why poor intentions wouldn't necessarily exist. Bad intentions won't necessarily exist. Why? Because people would not have a reason to come from a place of necessity. Majority of bad intentions come from is from a place of necessity. And you can look at that across the board of all crimes. Rather it be the lack of something, that lack of something is still craving a necessity, something to be um, you know, at the expense of one's pleasure. But apart from that, I'm not saying that people won't probably find a reason to want cannibalism, right? They want to eat people, right? That's something that's outside of these norms. That doesn't mean that people still can't apply to be a police officer. That doesn't mean we can't have people, the government in place to or people to run the government to ensure our safety, to make sure crime doesn't prevail. That's not at the expense. What I'm asking for is not at the expense of any of that. So
Okay, and I get that, but what I hear, and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, is the fact that when society gives, like I said, when society gives to all of us, whatever life gives us, if we don't give back, society will fail. Just life. And like I said, if we don't help a plant grow, we just take all the fruit from it, don't do nothing to it, it's not gonna grow, it's not gonna progress. If we block that plant, and I'm just talking about all aspects, no watering, no nothing, no giving the plant the natural neutrals that it had even before we touched it. Before we came along and like, hey, I want to build a house, I want to build a home, I want to have a family, I want to have kids. Ooh, fruit, you know what I'm saying? We build around natural resources to help us provide, but yet again, if we don't get back to those natural resources, the natural resources not going to stay there.
I hear what you're saying, but your analogy isn't so concrete because what was here before we came here? All of these resources were.
Right.
So the world does not need us to sustain it. We need the world to sustain us. Right?
World. I'm saying society, not the naturals. I just use the natural as an example because yet
Right.
again, if we trample over the natural, then it's not going to grow back until we what? Disappear.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning not around. There are places in the world that had bad nuclear bombs and stuff like that, and it was unlivable, it was unhabitable, and scientists had said that these places would not be livable for another 100 years or so, but they were proven wrong. Is once society left, everything came back actually 10 times faster. Yet again, if we would have stayed there and picked at every little thing that came, because yet again, these people couldn't go outside this area, it would have never grew back. That's like
So what does that have to do with my ideas?
With your ideas is, if I give you and you don't give back, who's going to give to these ideas? Who's going to infiltrate? Who's going to make sure they run right? Who's going to clean up the messes?
Well, I mean, that's where we come together as a collective. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't have to force anybody to want to do anything. If someone doesn't want to do something, cool, don't. But there are people out there who I believe would love to partake in some of the things, who would love to chip in, if it wasn't at the expense of them having to live. That's like saying, listen, hold on.
That's good to hear, but you're talking about like 1 billion people with we're gonna say a small number of it's 1 billion people. Okay, cool. But then you got a good 100 million people that don't want to do nothing at all. That the rest of society just got to come for. And I'm not talking about people that's unable, that yes, my family members, family, I'm not going to let nobody that can't do that. So we got that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that willingly show and discuss themselves of not trying to do anything in life. I'm talking about people that would straight urinate on a damn sidewalk when you know everybody walks up and down the street, but yet again, they don't care about life and society and what is common. And so therefore they would rather violate, trash, and disgrace the whole neighborhood. These are the things that I be talking about. These are people that come in all shapes, forms, sizes in life. You know what I'm saying? From the rich to the poor. You know, you got rich people that got kids that are like, I'm not doing nothing, Dad. I'm not doing nothing, Mom. You're going to pay for everything. You know what I'm saying? And then they get this guilty thing when it's time to go. It's like, look, I'm going to leave this kid everything because this kid ain't going to do nothing in life. You know what I'm saying? And I'd rather have some type of legacy. That's what I be looking at. When I be hearing rich versus poor, I'm like, okay, nobody wants to thieve through the weave. Everybody just want to go to the most critical explanation that they can find. It like without that, it would just be no more. I'm like, yeah. Think about safer neighborhoods and all worst neighborhoods of all. Yeah. You know, that's everybody putting in. And you know, in the worst neighborhoods in America, and I'm talking about all 48 states, because I don't know about all 50 states. You know what I'm saying? The worst neighborhood. Them people are not giving back to society at all. They just like, here, I need. I got this problem, I got that, I got that, I got this, I got that, I got that, I got that, I got that. And people like me and everybody else out here will sit up here and be like, well, I got this, I got that, I got that, I got this, I got that. But I go to work. So I also got work problem, this problem, that problem, kids trying to go to soccer, this and that, and all these other things that happen in life. It's amazing.
Yo.
Yeah. So that's
Praise
what I be
God.
talking about.
Yes. Now, mind you, I'm not a politician, y'all. I'm not looking to be one. I don't want to run nothing. I'm just talking about, these are just philosophical conversations for me. Amen. I don't hold to a particular party or any of that. This is just a philosophical conversation about government and policy, and I'm just implementing what I believe
That's
would
why
be.
I never hold you to those standards. If people
Amen.
really pay attention to my shows and like really, you know what I'm saying, even though I'm not consistent like I need to be, and I'm sorry, everybody. But watching my shows, I I really don't pick on people in certain topics if I know that's not your strong point or if that's not something you're good at. You know what I'm saying? I go in areas that, you know what I'm saying, your strong point or that you have some type of passionate for talking for. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'll never bring up no laws unless you bring it to my attention. Like, okay, cool. I can stab at this area because you have some interest of it.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? Uh,
Yeah.
when Doc on her, Doc, who's have literally said that he's a Democrat, he voted in Democrat Party, son of the party, then I can get a little deeper. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you sure? You know, let me poke at the bear and see. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Everybody can't get poked at the bear if they're not a, especially
Amen.
because I have learned. I'm gonna say I've noticed. I learned that everybody, for one, don't know all the definitions, what truly classifies them as what. And if you really sit there and talk to a person, boy, they ideology for real, y'all.
Yeah, that's so true. So many, like, that's the thing. Like, that's why I don't even like labeling people, because I don't even think some people really believe what they think they believe. Some people may claim to be on one side, but really have whole different types of views, right? You can
Yeah,
have a Democratic you can have a vote person that vote Democrat with a Republic mindset, and vice versa. A Republican with a Democratic mind. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think it's a means of always getting to know the person and having conversations. And there's billions of people on this earth that we could talk to and get an understanding from, which makes life so beautiful. You know what I mean? Which is why I think we should be saying hi to people that cross our paths, regardless if they look like they have a bad day or what. Just say hi to somebody. You never know what type of conversation you may get out of that person that's walking by. You know, ask them questions about life. You don't have to pressure them into making some sort of choice and choosing a side, but more so get to know them and what carries them on with life. Rather be the homeless man or the rich man. You know what I mean? Talk to people, have conversations. I promise you're growing a ton of knowledge if you do that, and compassion for people if you just talk to people. So
true. And I definitely believe that people, um, if they can be a lot more open to understanding, like, yo, I voted this way because this, not because of a man's tweet, not because of my family is majority this, so I'm just riding with the family. You know what I'm saying? Just to understand that, hey, I did my research. This is what I thought, and this is what it is. And if a person like, oh, well, I don't think you've seen everything, you know what I'm saying? Did you look at this? Did you know about that? Did you know about this? And the person either probably like, yeah, I knew about it, or no, I didn't know about it, and I should do some more investigation. Now, and then this is what kills me, Johnny. This is like define kills me of life. And I don't care if a person lie. You lie, you lie. You lie to yourself. That's okay. It is what it is. But when you have a conversation and somebody tells you that you're feeling some type of way, and you be like, no, I'm not feeling that type of way. It's just you lay out a definition and explain, and they still try to backtrack and say, no, you feel that type of way. I hate when people do that, because a person will sit up here and explain to you the reason why they don't feel that way, but still have their um, stance on things, and it will still be mistrade and put. I really do.
yeah, and that's the thing. We're not when we talk to people. Everybody's not gonna be as cut and dry when it comes to communication. I think a lot of people here have a tough time communicating, you know, because people here are like so emotional. They attach themselves to so many things of life that could possibly be wrong. 9 times out of 10, it is wrong, but they just hold to it because they don't even really be knowing why. So, like, you know,
Well, I think it's because of what they say about the propaganda.
oh, about the
You,
propaganda.
yeah,
What?
hearing so many stories about X, Y, and Z doing so much to A, B, and C,
Yeah,
it's got to be true. You know, look over
yeah,
here, look over here, and look over there, and look over here, and look up there, and look right there, and be like, okay. And this is the thing, and this is the problem. When you look over there, okay, let's look over there. Let's break it down. People be like, no, look over there, look over there, look over there, look over there. And then they want to see this. I'm like, okay, why can't we break each one of these scenarios down? Because when you break each scenario down, just like everybody would love to, uh, for Trump instance, you know what I'm saying? They would love to break every scenario. I love to break every scenario down. I don't have the time. Well, then it's hard for you to prove a point when you want to stab at everything because of what you heard and the key things that alerted to you instead of understanding what alerted to you and why it alerted to you. You see what I'm saying? Let's go all the way back to the rich versus poor. Why
hey
is this
man.
person why is this person rich? And you know what I'm saying? What did he do to stay rich? Why is this person poor? And what's keeping this person poor? And what can we do to help him to get on his feet so he can turn around and help the next person? Because that's basically what you will want in society is for somebody to help me to where I'm on my feet, I'm stable, I'm doing good, so I can turn around and help the next person. And then you know what I'm saying? Then you get the chain reaction. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Guess what's wrong with that chain reaction?
Well, not necessarily the chain reaction type of thing, because sometimes you're not gonna get people that want to help, and that's okay. But I'm saying there's enough people in this world, or the ones that do want to help, will make room. I think that's the scarcity. The scarce part is like, oh, who's gonna do this? Who's gonna do that? Well, don't worry about it. People will naturally want to just step in if they do. If they don't, then nah.
That's the same thing about people that get rich when they was poor. Don't get
Huh?
in my way. I said that's the same thing about people that was rich that get. I mean, people that are poor that get rich. Don't get in my way. I was once poor. Now I'm
Yeah.
rich. Now all of a sudden you care about how much money I make and why am I not paying this, that in taxes when you peel back the layers and understand that rich people pay a big percentage of taxes. So yet again, tax benefits got to come from somewhere. People that work have tax benefits. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately to say this, but poor people have tax break benefits. Everybody have tax break benefits. So why are we worried about the rich when we can't even worry about the poor? You see what I'm saying? Like, oh, the rich, the poor, the poor. Okay, which one you want to take care of first? Because obviously trying to take care of both at the same time is not working. Period. It's not working. You gotta, and I feel like I'm being an asshole, but I'm being like so truthful. We unfortunately gonna have to pick one. Which one is more important? Taking care of the poor or taking care of the rich? Which problem is more important?
Taking care of the poor.
Taking care of the poor. Well, let's leave the rich people alone. Let them do what they're doing. Let's go take care of the poor. Let's stay out of their business.
Someone else will run them and come up with different ideas. You don't need rich people to run the world. That's not. That's That's actually communism right there. You
Actually,
know,
that's not communism.
that's,
Rich people don't run the world. It's just rich people create businesses for poor people to get an opportunity.
that doesn't make sense, brother.
Huh?
That doesn't make sense. Not to me.
Rich people make jobs for poor people to get so they can create an opportunity.
Why would I need a rich person to do that?
Because that's how people worked at Walmart. That's how you went to go work at Costco. That's how you went to go work at the police department. That's how you went to go work anywhere.
I get that, but why does a person have to be rich to run it? Is what I'm saying. People can be placed in those positions and not be rich. Just because you
People,
come up with an idea to help humanity as a whole, if that's what it is, that doesn't have to be at the expense of someone else's lifestyle and
sir,
how they live their life.
Walmart wasn't always rich.
But what I'm saying is just because an individual comes up with an idea to help the better humanity, that doesn't have to be at the expense of someone else's lifestyle and the way that they live.
Okay. And because I know how to manage money better than most people in society doesn't mean that I can't make a franchise or a chain of things. So if I own a franchise or a chain, that means I have a little bit more accessibility than the next person.
No,
So
it's not because you know how to manage it. It's because you can capitalize off of the system and the world that we live in. That's the only way. It has nothing to do with money management skills or anything like that. It has everything to
how?
do, it has, for one, it has everything to do at the expense of you being able to capitalize on it. Because let me ask you a question. If you could not capitalize on it, would you do it? That deserves a heart right there. So yeah, there may be people that's rich that's offering these
Okay.
opportunities,
So
but they may not have the heart behind it to help other individuals be able to live a comfortable life as well.
sir, saying what you just said, right? Going back to what you said, what would be more accessible? Buying a pair of Nikes or buying a pair of Shacks?
Okay, now we're talking about expenses.
We're
Why
talking
does
about,
it? Let me ask you a question. Why
uh-huh,
does a pair of Nikes and a pair of Shacks cost different?
because a person ideology said, hey, I want my shoes to cost a certain amount of money.
No, it's because people place prices on things, correct?
Sir, it's
Someone
because
put a price on Nike, right?
no. Yeah,
Nike set his own price.
you know what? A
Yeah,
person did put a price on
right.
something, and
Now
Shaq put a
why
different price on his shoes. That's two
right.
different
Now
shoes.
right. Now why is that? Why do I have to if we know that Nike shoes are better than Shaq shoes,
How do
right?
you know that?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
You see how you change the whole scenario? How we know Nikes is better than Shaq's? How do you know that?
Test them.
But you said it,
Yeah, and okay, we could look up a YouTube video. I guarantee there's a YouTube video that shows the different quality between Nikes and Shaqs.
okay. So, but
And
keep
then,
going.
and if Nike has better quality, why wouldn't I? That's like saying
Why wouldn't you
hey, that's like saying
finish that
this.
statement? Why
Yes,
wouldn't
if
you?
Nike has better quality
Mm-hmm.
and I have to invest in myself,
Mm-hmm.
why would I not go with Nike instead of Shaq? That's the main
Because
reason right there. There's no it's this it's the stipulation behind it. It's a better investment. That's like saying like
you can say
that's
that,
the difference between buying a used car and a new car.
sir.
And they're both the same brand. And they both sell it, you know what I'm saying? That's the difference. But it's at the expense of what you can afford as well.
And also understanding that what is more important to me? Do I really care about putting Nikes on my feet, or do I just really care about putting shoes on my feet and going outside because I don't care about what society looks or cares or mocks or says about me? These doggone Shacks feel good on my feet. I'm gonna go wear some Shacks. Who cares? They $34. I just saved me $100. I just saved me $100 because yet again, I'd rather pay $30 for some shoes than pay $130 for some Nike Air Max, whatever.
Well, which one's gonna last you longer? Let's talk about it.
I
Do they both last the same amount of
thank you.
time? Do
They
they?
both gonna last about the same amount.
Okay,
I'm doing the
I
same thing,
understand that. Now
right?
we're talking. Now I'm talking about a different world right now.
That's not a different world. See, that's where y'all people get delusional. Quit changing the
Wow.
world. The world is not gonna change.
So why are
People
we
change.
talking? So what are we talking about then?
People change in the world. The world don't change.
The world is. I'm talking about the world system, right? There shouldn't Nikes should not. If they're the same quality as Shaq shoes, they should
Mhm.
not be able to price themselves to price that. They shouldn't be able to.
Why they
But
shouldn't be
because
able to?
but because you can capitalize in this world off of people and market to them and sell them dreams and all types of whatever, people can get away with it. That's the type of world that we live in right now, where you can capitalize off of people's stupidness. You can capitalize off of people's dumbness. You can capitalize off of people's gullibleness. You can capitalize on anything. At the expense of what, though? Someone else is suffering? That's what I'm not for.
Okay. So we can go back to Nike. Let's go back to Nike. Nike got that $130 pair of Air Max shoes and all them exclusives and whatever. And also Nike have that clearance rack too. So what's the difference? So we still gonna pay that $130 to go get that fresh pair because we think it's gonna outlast the clearance rack, which them are fresh pair. It would just been on the shelf for a very long time. Them just not maybe the color you was looking for. There's still some shoes to put on your feet to do whatever you got to do. But the hype and, like you said, capitalize on people's stuff. There's really no capitalizing off what you choose to do. You can either understand what society is throwing at you and say, hey, I'm not going to fall for everything because everything is not what it is. My phone has been the same phone. My shirts are the same shirts. You know what I'm saying? What I want to do in life, whatever I want to do in life, you know what I'm saying? I can choose to just do whatever it takes. I don't have to always go with the hype or go with the trend. Because before there was a trend, there's always been a trend. And I'm just talking about the social media trend. There's still been a trend. 90s had a trend, the 40s, the 50s, there's always been some type of trend. So yeah, people capitalize off the trend because everybody wants to do it. But you know, them few that don't want to be like that are more likely the ones that become rich. And people hate that word rich. And I'm running the reason I'm using the word rich because these are the people that worked hard, that didn't follow every trend, that made those extra sacrifices, who didn't go get their hair done, who didn't go buy the name brand this, who didn't go get that fresh car off the lot until they had all their priorities together. And then you're going to say, well, everybody don't have that choice. Everybody has a choice and a chance to get their priorities in life together. Everybody does. And if you can say somebody don't, well, it had to be a choice that they made to do something to make them choices and chances go away.
And that's a wrong thing, especially living in this society. not having the opportunity to because of something because grace has run out. I
But they
don't think
say
that's
this is,
fair.
but they say
I
this is the
don't.
best society to be in. This
That's
is
what they
one of the,
yeah because
because of
it's
what?
sad. It's sad. I mean, yeah, it's
Especially for a black man, a Christian black man. Let
cool.
me go a little deeper because yet again, there are countries out here that we can't even go to, and it don't have nothing to do with white people.
What'd you say?
I
You
said
kind of went in and out.
there's countries that we can't even go to, and they don't have nothing to do with white people.
Yeah, it got possibly everything to do with the way that Americans are.
Or it maybe has something to do with the religion and what they stand for in their country.
Okay, yeah, they may be standing because they stand by Israel, which is crazy. That's a whole nother topic in
But,
and of itself. But we're gonna stay on topic though.
but yet again, that's still like when it comes to this rich and poor and going somewhere that's affordable, usable, and accessible to the poor to where they don't have to scrounge and damn near claw and let me just say this kill to get. You really don't have to do all that here in America. People want to say that and put all them in them raps. That's all they had to do to make it out of the slum. That's not true.
No, there's other opportunities when it comes to things like that. But majority of it is a lifestyle and a culture that America allows. Why? Because you can capitalize off of people's stupidity. So what? They offer them same people $3 million contracts to do what? Buy more guns. To do what? Buy more drugs. To do what? Um, grow their criminal enterprise at the expense of what? Capitalizing off of someone else's hurt, stupidity. Uh,
But
a
yet again, the
a
people
go ahead.
that's not that's not necessarily all the way true because when the people cried out about these corruptions and stuff, these people paid lawyers or other people cried out, oh, this racial for locking up a bunch of black people at a time. Like for instance, for an example, this marijuana stuff that goes on in one state, you have weed legal as hell, Nevada, and then you have a state that's, boy, you better not get caught with a roach in your car or you going in, Texas. That's a choice of people voting by a majority. That should let people know that, yeah, system works. It may not be the best system, but it does work. So therefore, when you see corruption that people want to call corruption and they want to think it's all only targeted at black people, I said, well, then why don't all the black people leave Texas? Then it's only going to be targeted at the white people because you don't see the white people complaining about that. These little bitty things that so-called block us from opportunity really don't block us from opportunity. We just use that as a victimhood mechanism. That's why rich people be like, don't tax me. Get out of my way. Let me use the system the way it was meant to be used. I'm sorry. And there are blueprints for all of us out here. There's blueprints. Life is a highway. I want to ride it all night long. Right? Something like that. Life as a cougar. And I'm just playing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got to get up out of here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, anytime that you're watching this. I appreciate you boys watching this. I am coming back with some hot ones. Johnny, after his heart, was here in the building. He had to go. I'm going to let you know I'm coming back. I got a lot more things to talk about, a lot more things to break down. Until then, we out. Peace.
finna do?
This motherfucker is locked.
Talking, I'm in love, baby.